this is just the latest in your sort of growing up books, if you like, isn't
A growing series of growing up books.
Yeah, increasingly so. I took it home over the weekend, and I've got kids. Mine are 11 and nearly 17, and then stepdaughters who are 13 and nearly 16. So it's a prime age where they're absolutely drawn in and hooked into social media. And it's a great book for parents, just to even understand what on earth these kids are going through.
I suspect
we can't always
it's going to be read
understand
more by parents, actually, than kids, because...
You've got to get it in very early with kids, haven't you? Because once they get to about 14, they kind of know more than we do.
And this is the big controversial issue. So, you know, you were talking earlier about the headline today about, you know, and everyone's like, blah, blah, blah. Actually, it's all about age appropriateness. And if you don't get in there first and guide them, if you think your kid isn't on their phone looking at porn, you are kidding yourself, you know. So you need to get in there first to guide them and advise them and explain what's good about it, what's not good about it, you know?
And I think in order to show what's maybe good about it, not good about it, what's realistic and what is totally unrealistic and potentially harmful is pornography, which obviously you've hinted at. I don't know if this has necessarily been overblown. It should be shown in
Unfortunate
schools.
choice of word there, I think.
Or deliberate. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not just throwing myself.
At school, because I mean, pornography and children either stumbling across it or deliberately choosing it is something that obviously we've talked about very often here, as from mothers' points of view.
I think parents really worry about this, and I think, you know, you can either tell kids why this is completely unrealistic view of sex and why that size possibly isn't everybody's size, or that behaviour possibly isn't for everybody, because if you don't, they will. Kids are not getting very good sex education in schools, so they often turn to porn to find out what to do. That's not ideal. In fact, that's a disaster.
Not just kids, I think I do as well.
I don't believe a word of that. What did you say?
Anyway, sorry, carry on.
But as an adult, you're old enough to make your own choices, and you're a little bit more experienced. But if, say, you said obviously sex education isn't perhaps all that it should be, and kids are turning online, they're getting quite a skewed view of sex should be, in some instances, and not least when you first experience it, perhaps a loving and more emotional exchange. Obviously, it's going to be a physical thing, but learning how to do so with care is something that schools can help with. So showing these two sides of
That's really what I meant. The headline, I think, was a little bit sensationalised, to be fair. And
how unlike the newspaper.
Isn't that unusual? That's something I've said, totally blown out of all proportion. But it was, you never learn about respect and love and boundaries and pleasure. You never hear the word pleasure talking about sex.
Some schools do that, but that's my issue with sex education, is that it seems to be a little bit hit and miss at the moment in schools. There's no sort of across-the-board way of dealing with it. Some schools very much do go into respect and boundaries and stuff like that, and others don't. Would you like to see actual legislation in place for what you're just talking about?
I do, yeah, absolutely.
And then you'd have to get parental consent, though, wouldn't you?
I think it should be a compulsory part of the curriculum. I know parents often pull their kids out of sex education classes. All I would say to those parents are, an uninformed child is a vulnerable child.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.